It took me so long to get into SAG, right? And like it took me so long to like to actually tangibly build a career out here, and there was just so much stagnancy. When I finally did get the opportunity, like by fucking luck and the skin of my teeth, and after years, and I'm going to get Taft-Hartley for this Super Bowl ad, but it's for this added bit where they need me to have, you're going to have to, how comfortable are you with spiders is what my agent asked me. She's like, the director really liked you. They added this bit, and they cast someone else for the part you initially went in for, but like, she's like, just be honest here. She's like implying like I'm gonna look bad if you don't fuck me, don't have a fucking meltdown here. But she didn't say that. She's very nice, and I was like, I think I said something like, I'll do whatever I have to do. That's all I said, and I was like, I'm gonna do whatever. And she's like, okay, well, so here's what they want. They want to put a tarantula on your shoulder, and you have a tarantula on your shoulder. Yeah, let's like. Yes.
Load it up.
And I was just kind of very like, and they'll Taft-Hartley me. Well, yeah, they'll have to.
Hey, Chelsea.
Oh, hey, Victoria.
You know what I need?
What?
Breath of Fresh movie.
Me too.
Yay.
Thanks.
That's a movie I like to see.
Yes. Hi. This is a Breath of Fresh movie.
Wakey.
Yes, wake up. This is a weekly podcast. I'm Victoria Harley.
And I'm Chelsea Pope.
Yeah, that's her. And this is me. And each week we watch a movie neither one of us has ever seen before, and then we talk about it.
And we may not talk about everything, but we'll talk about anything.
Yeah, and we might spoil not only this movie, but some other movie as well.
Just at random. Just watch out. There's going to be casualties on the way.
No warnings.
Ding, ding, spoilers ahoy.
It's happened before.
That's our warning, is the spoilers ahoy. So we've warned.
Ding, ding.
You be warned.
Today's episode is the 1971 psychological thriller Play Misty for Me, directed by Clint Eastwood. When a radio DJ spends the night with a fan, the relationship turns obsessive and dark. This is a movie starring Jessica Walter as Evelyn Draper, Clint Eastwood as Dave Garver, Donna Mills as Toby, John Larch as Sergeant McCallum, and Clarice Taylor as Birdie. It's true, we do spoil things, but checkpoint Chelsea.
Oh, yeah. So,
what do you think?
I don't know. I think it's fine. You see, this is not...
You have to see it to experience it.
I think, like, it's okay if you know what happens in this, because you will, because the thing is, it feels so familiar, right?
You'll know where it's going.
At this point, even though this is one of the early iterations of this type of movie, it's almost like its own, it'd be a hearty letterbox list, the scorned woman has a freak out, with Fatal Attraction and
Fatal Attraction, Misery.
Slim Fan.
Misery owes a big debt to this as well.
Yeah, it's kind of, it feels, it's like sexy Misery, I guess.
Well, what's funny is that, yeah, exactly, right? Because the Misery is about the fan.
Wait, not that Kathy Bates ain't a dish.
I get what you're saying.
Don't get me wrong.
But like Fatal Attraction is the sexual component, whereas the obsessive fan component is more like Misery. But what's interesting is Play Misty for Me. It's definitely a psychological thriller. It's not. You could call it an erotic thriller, but I think that's a genre that sort of requires other ridiculous sort of...
I don't know. I think Clint Eastwood certainly tried with that sex. There is this like love scene that just feels like very Tommy Wiseau, The Room, in a way. Like it's so corny and out of place.
It is weird. However, I heard some like
that's what makes it erotic.
Well, I think like if it was an erotic thriller, that scene would have been with Jessica Walter.
Right. They didn't really sexualize her.
Yeah. Like the whole sideline with like, oh, this is the woman he's actually in love with. Like some people try to suggest that, well, that's the real crux of the movie is like he's trying to build this relationship with this woman he cares about. I'm like, no, this is a movie about a stalker.
Yeah,
like,
well, yeah, and that's what makes this such a tonally confused movie for me too, because Clint and et al. With this movie, I think like they just don't. Well, I think the perspective is so that this woman just sucks. Like she's so. To pull off this kind of story, I think, to try to show a little more I think the guy needs to fuck up and be a little more aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a sense of like you have to atone or whatever. Clint Eastwood is just very like I'm a good I'm a good guy. Like there's something.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's. It almost feels like it's punching down so much on the fan woman character.
I agree.
When she should be alluring, and it should make more sense that not that Jessica Walter doesn't flirt.
No,
and
she's very
they have their
but
moment in front of the fireplace.
She goes. The thing is, like the red flags with her. You know, it's like the first one is really her. I think sort of snapping at the neighbor when she's leaving after the first.
I thought the very first red flag was when she said, "Oh, I wasn't just there. I knew you talked about this on the station."
No, you're right. That is the first red flag. There's a lot of red flags.
Yeah, but it just.
But he ignores it, and they have sex. And you know, some people have said this is kind of like almost a counterculture horror, or that like there's some like sublimated issues about the feminism movement that was starting.
Yeah,
to
no,
happen.
this feels like this is like a more misogynistic version type of story. Like women are not.
Like it's like if
women bad.
If Jessica Walter's character Evelyn is this liberated woman, he's very threatened by the way like she acts, he reacts. She's in like the masculine role, and in fact, I don't know if this was true, but I hope it was, or I hope it is. But Steve McQueen was considered for the role of Dave, the DJ, but basically was like, well, the woman has the bigger part.
Yeah,
and of course he wouldn't like that.
It's a very passive character and role, and like it also contributes to my part of my very mid reaction to this. Is just Clint Eastwood is not, for how great he is as a cowboy, he just has no charisma, and there's no.
He's so stiff.
I mean, say what you will with Michael Douglas, it's funny. It's fun. You can watch it on the outside and be like, this guy's not attractive enough to be pulling these women. But then I'll watch things and I'm like, he had a lot of charisma. Like this is kind of. Yeah. This is actually believable.
No. I mean,
he's kind of hot in the chorus line.
It's funny
there's a commanding energy with him.
What you found is like, the spectrum goes further, in like lack of appeal.
There are things I can appreciate.
I think it's also
when I look at Michael Douglas, like the Thanos, like perhaps I judged you too
harshly.
I feel when I see Clint Eastwood's trying to pull off this type of character.
Yeah, he's
a specific thing.
He is stiff. He's playing a guy who loves jazz, and Clint Eastwood loved jazz apparently, and he wants us all to know it.
But I also am like, okay, if you're a disc jockey, like how does he live in this house in the club? Like,
exactly. He works 5 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Who is this a very fantasy wish fulfillment kind of guy? Like
every convertible. He lives in Monterey, California.
It's fucking crazy. He lives off a fucking cliff by the ocean.
How is this happening?
You're a DJ.
It's absolutely.
And then everybody, he's so hot. He has these portraits painted of him in his house. It's
so
like,
ridiculous.
It's insane.
It's like he's this local celebrity in town, but I just don't buy it. And he's so, again, he's so stiff. And I get, I think Clint Eastwood, wasn't there like an Onion headline about how like Clint Eastwood keeps making movies because he's desperately trying to impress like this one guy?
That is the vibe of this too.
Right?
He's very
he wants us to know,
I'm so cool and great.
Like I'm down. I'm with it.
It reminds me of,
but it's like you're not a counterculture dude.
Exactly.
You do all your lines through gritted teeth. Like
he's also just the self-aggrandizing. Like I need to make myself come off as the most. I'm so sexually powerful. Women will ruin their lives. Yeah. Someone wrote. I'll reference it. Someone wrote a good review of like this is a guy like writing a wish fulfillment story about a woman who's like so hungry for his cock that it's just she's killing people. She's jumping out of police cars.
Well, and it's funny because the story was conceived by a woman, and like I mean that there was like a rewrite that somebody did, and that woman, I should say, also longtime friends with Clint Eastwood, so
well then
there's something to it. But he read the script and he was he was interested in it. He thought it was interesting to have this female stalker character be a villain because frankly no films existed like that kind of at that time or possibly before. Like, sure, a crazy fan.
Maybe this is one of those for its time. It's subversive in a
it was
character
different.
depiction.
And I think his masculinity, his character's masculinity, it's like he's trying to be a different kind of man in this movie. He's trying to not be the dude that, I mean, that's the thing.
I think he can't perform that. Like, there's no change in. I could just as well see him standing like in a desert with a hat and poncho or something, and then it's like, oh, these choices would make more sense there.
Yeah. Sergio Leone did really good work with him. Like, I think the director of those spaghetti westerns deserves a lot of credit for understanding how to use him and how to use him to the greatest effect. We have more information about Clint Eastwood, but I'll just tell you that, like, dude has always been stiff as an actor, and he just failed.
He's always been. He's just like this good-looking guy who never had to learn range.
He was really tall. That was mostly. We'll get into it. It's so frustrating. Okay. I also thought, Jessica Walter's character, Evelyn, she was very direct and transparent from the start about, like, well, doesn't mean we can't sleep with each other, you know, and he keeps fucking her. Every time she comes back and does some crazy shit, he sleeps with her.
She like right out the gate gets a copy of his keys and buys groceries. Like, she's showing up like, honey, I'm home with the groceries kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And he's
chicken
just
delight. I'm going to make
just,
chicken delight.
And the thing, she's very, it's funny because it's so transparent, and she's if you're going to watch this at all, watch it for her.
Oh yeah.
You know, and thankfully again, she shows up early and it keeps you engaged.
Yes.
But, he keeps fucking her.
He just keeps fucking her, and I'm like,
she's crazy, and he just keeps. But guys will do it.
I know. I mean, but it's just like there
that.
was one where, like, she shows up in the middle of the night, and then she takes off her coat and she's naked underneath.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like, oh my God, and, like, you know, helps get her coat on, and I'm like, oh, okay, so this will be it, and it won't. But no, and the next morning, she wakes up, he's still in bed, and she's like, you know, kissing him goodbye.
Yeah.
I'm like, they had sex again. Like,
yeah.
what? Like, I was just like, how have you not learned?
There's a lack of self-awareness, I think, in how this version of the male character is written, and also, of course, in the performance. I think that is a big part of what's like missing for me, is that I feel like there needs to be a bit more of a fumbling humility and like, oh,
no,
he's
constantly shocked that she would do any of this. It's like he can't imagine a woman. I mean, not.
But then he fucks her anyway. It feels it almost feels like a comedy.
Yes,
in that way.
This is a fun one to watch with some friends who maybe just want to see Jessica Walter do some crazy shit.
She's great.
She's intense.
And it's not a badly put together movie, but this is also something you could roast with friends too, I think.
And I think also one of her first really potent screams, and I'm like, she ruined some sound guy's ears that day. Like, I swear, because it is just peaked out. It is so.
They must have always had to lower her mic though, because she was always shouting. She would
go,
some feisty.
Well, she would go from one thing like this really sweet to like, you know.
This is the I love that about the the character in King of Comedy in the same way.
Yeah, Masha. I mean, I think one of my favorite moments was she was just like, oh, just gonna sit here in my horse suit.
Yeah, I love. She's like, boss, I'm in my leisure wear. She's very like.
And then like she does this whole thing where she storms out, just like, you're terrible in bed.
Yeah.
Blah, blah. And then cut to the phone ringing.
Yeah, immediately she's like,
I'm
at a
so
phone
sorry.
booth, right? Like I didn't mean those things I said.
I mean, it's so funny. The cuts are hilarious in that way.
It's a comedy. Like she's
it is a comedy.
She's so insane in the swings. They're so big and broad.
So
I can't not find it funny. And then then she starts stabbing people. And, oh shit! But then also those stabs are very silly and ridiculous too. Reminds me of like the chopping in Rocky Horror, where you're like not really see everything's just sort of like.
It's definitely not giving like Psycho a run for its money or anything. Not that that's like the definition.
The horror element of it isn't really horrifying in my opinion.
It's more the horror. I think and I'm not trying to like read Clint Eastwood's mind here, but it feels like the bigger horror is that this woman is aggressive, not that she's a murderer.
Right. It's more
upsetting that he has to be on the defensive. Yeah. You know, like she's emasculating.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's actually the problem or something. I don't know.
No, I think that makes sense. I mean, especially their altercation too is a very anticlimactic shuffle.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you about the tonal strangeness, because like we go from that scene where she's stabbing Bertie, the housekeeper, and gets taken away.
That was awful too.
That was awful.
That made me lose like that. I took a full star away just for that scene. Yeah, I was glad that they really
glad she survived.
They went out of their way to make sure that we see her in the structure, and she actually makes a joke. She's like, "You're gonna have to pay me double to clean all that up," or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I still really didn't like seeing that lady getting.
No, I really didn't either.
Fucked up.
And I also felt like Bertie was just there to like show that Clint Eastwood knows how to talk to black people.
No, that's why there were I've had several like scenes, but like then those people, they're the charisma of the actors that he hires around him just make him look that much worse.
Yes.
And they're also good. Like their performances, I think, actually had more range and nuance despite being written as these very clear caricature types of roles. Like I mean, they were there to be sassy or
the other DJ at the station whose show is before his.
Exactly. When I say them, that's specifically that and her and him
and Birdie.
They're really,
those are the main two that have like a role. But I think Al is the name of the guy at the station. And there's like one moment Al goes to go smoke a joint.
Yeah.
And I think he sort of offers it and Clint's just like, no, thanks. You know?
Yeah.
Just say no before Nancy. And then Al goes and smokes it, but he comes back so fast. I'm like, how fast did he smoke that joint? Like, it's not a cigarette.
I don't know.
Also, is Clint Eastwood, I keep calling him Clint Eastwood, even though he has Dave's bedroom.
Yeah.
What the fuck is on the walls? Are those gum wrappers?
His whole place is ridiculous.
His whole place
is like Ron Burgundy had a less ridiculous home than him.
It was like half Ron Burgundy and half unfinished house.
I was like, who is this? Just like a set house? Like is this just where they shoot things?
They
or is
literally
this
just shot at people's homes.
Yeah,
which credit, minimal production design, but I think a little bit of production design could have gone a long way in this because they are totally reliant on location shoots for the whole thing.
And they really did a lot of excess shots of just the water and the cliff.
Yeah, well, because we're in Big Little Lies territory.
Yeah,
up there. It's like Carmel by the Sea, Monterey. Except,
it's like if there's something useful about that place.
It's like we are 5 minutes into the movie and all we've seen is just like him driving around.
All of the credits are just a scenic.
And I don't hate that, but the weirdness of that, there's that stabbing scene that happens. And then there's the soft focus set to Roberta Flack lovemaking scene.
Oh, that was ridiculous.
Which was just like slow and burdensome. And again, tonally just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, what is happening?
No, suddenly you're just seeing them like in this really plush grass. Again, it makes me think of The Room because that was such a, like the way like the soft dissolves. So you see the legs and the hands. And...
I think for me, I hated the way the light was so unflattering when they were standing in that pool at the base of the waterfall.
Yeah.
Like you just saw every little shadow and ripple on their bodies. I'm like, this is not flattering to anybody. Use some lighting for God's sake.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I know.
It was a choice.
It's weird.
It's gross
because they were supposed to be. The point of that scene was to look
to
sexy.
Be gentle and lovely and soft. Instead, you look cold and bruised.
I know.
Anyway, I also thought it was really absurd that somehow, despite almost stabbing the housekeeper to death, Evelyn is released on parole. I didn't understand.
Well, you know what? The movie confused me because I was like, wait, did she break free? Or did she? Because they're like, now they're out looking for her. But I'm like, it would have been more... Did I miss that? Or
I'm confused.
I got confused at the end, too, because all these people kind of calling people back and forth, but it wasn't engaging. It was just a constant exchange. This is how I felt watching Amsterdam. People are just exchanging information. It's just starts to wash over me.
It does. I thought the ending felt almost like this is the final boss level in a video game. I did think Evelyn with those big fucking scissors.
When she was terrorizing the love interest, that was really scary.
Yeah,
she said, "I'll take your eye out. Hold still."
Was it hold still?
Yeah,
hold still. It was just like, that was terrifying. Shredding the painting of him, that was good. I also loved the whole we're told really early on that this girl Toby, who Dave is hung up on, that she lives in this house that she inherited, but can't needs help with the upkeep, so has roommates. And there's a string of different people because it's really far out and it's very remote, so people come and then they realize it's too far, I can't do it. They set up both those points really early, and then they both end up paying off in that. Right, Evelyn poses as somebody who, I'm your new roommate, and perfect, right? The creep factor there is wonderful. And then just that it takes Dave so long to get there. Like, it's this long ass drive, and it's the 70s. We don't have cell phones. We can't be checking, it just, there's something about, I'm just saying,
no, the drive thing does make sense. And yeah, it's so misery of them. I know this came out before all that, but it's also just,
I know.
I'm being judgy, and I have to remind myself this was the press. This helped kind of,
I think
this came before the better ones.
Yeah. I think though the last laugh I had in the movie was when Evelyn just goes, "Gosh, you're so dumb."
Yeah, I laughed really hard when that happened.
Yeah.
That was great.
The scene where she interrupts the meeting he has. Is this your date?
Yeah.
Is this your idea of a dish?
God, this is a fucking comedy. This movie's funny, honestly.
I know. What is
she plays it so grounded too. It's part of what makes her so great is Lucille Blue. It's that freak out, that very inappropriate public outburst behavior.
National Be Nice to Senior Citizens Week.
Fucking unhinged.
That was some Lucille shit.
Funny.
And even the fact that they're at this.
I wanted something your thumb touched to eat the inside of your ear.
Exactly. I think like. It's so funny, too, that scene was happening at, like, a seafood restaurant on a dock. It felt like we were in Newport Beach, in an episode. Anyway.
I understand. The appreciation for the locale.
Anyway.
There's a validity.
It's,
He just, how does he have all that fucking money?
That was my question, too. I was like, well, this is a nice
just make him a director. But yeah, this whole, I think what you're saying is, I'm cool and hip, so we're going to make him into this hip DJ.
Totally. So some notes about this. Again, it was written by Joe Hyams and sort of revised by Dean Breisner, directed by Clint Eastwood, produced by Ross Hunter. This is from Universal Pictures. Now, Clint Eastwood later would go to, he's now works exclusively with Warner Brothers, but there were about 4 films or so, his first 4, I think, that he did at Universal, and this is one of them. Universal. Shooting started in September 1970. Originally, it was supposed to be set in LA, but Eastwood asked to move it to Monterey, which is where he lived. But he also thought, we'll shoot the scenery, it'll be so beautiful.
No, I do appreciate it's not
it's not LA.
Just another LA story.
I agree. I think that was a good call. There were real locations. The Sardine Factory is still there, by the way. That seafood restaurant that they had a number of scenes at.
That's cool.
You can go to that. KRML was a real functioning radio station. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of the locations were kind of just the homes of friends of acquaintances. We're like, yeah, sure, you can use my house. They also filmed the Monterey Jazz Festival, which I thought was some of the most boring footage. I'm sorry.
That was really funny, too. That felt so shoehorned, in addition to the argument. I was so very we're cool.
He's a cool guy. He likes jazz. And, I mean, even, again, Clint Eastwood just feels like he's trying to prove something because he had seen, Misty. He heard the song performed at the Concord Music Festival the year before, and immediately was like, I got to get the rights to this. So this whole, we have to have it be at Monterey Pop, or not Monterey Pop, sorry, at the Monterey Jazz Festival, because I want to showcase that. And I want to.
That's nice, but it doesn't serve this.
It doesn't. Really... And you do see a few people, if you're into jazz, which I'm not, but Johnny Otis, Cannonball Adderley, and one of the founders of the Weather Report can be seen in this scene.
It's you want to make a story that's relevant to that, then
that's fine. But no, I thought he just
feels very out of place. It slows the movie down.
He kind of just reminded me of any dad at a concert. Just a little bit of a beat in their head, but that's it.
Yeah.
They're trying to look like, no, I'm into it. It's cool. But it just looks sort of painful. Is this the most animated and alive we'll ever see Clint Eastwood? And it's and it's still just barely.
And I think that is the most animated and alive I've ever seen.
He was close to skipping down the aisle. That's what it felt like. I mentioned that, this female stalker idea, not, a lot of people want to take credit for it. For the inspiration. In fact, there was a DJ named Gene Shepard who claimed this happened to me. I had a crazy fan. This is totally from my experience. Eastwood himself is sort of, there's 2 options here. One is that apparently when he was younger, he became the focus of an older woman's sexual obsession. Not sure exactly what that means, but I guess he was 19 at the time. Yeah, and he also apparently had an ex-girlfriend who, when they broke up, she threatened to kill herself. I don't know if either of those are true.
He's got an opinion about women.
Yeah, I don't. Again, those could
He's had some experiences.
Yeah.
It sounds like that may have
Yeah, I mean,
influenced his opinion.
but it's like everybody wants credit. I'm like, well, how about just Joe Himes for writing it?
Yeah, right.
How about
the writer?
How about the writer?
This is based on Clint Eastwood's life. This was real for him. This is blah, blah, blah.
It didn't just come out of this woman's brain. Okay. I mean, anyway, Lee Remick was initially, the studio wanted her as Evelyn, but Eastwood insisted on Jessica Walter after seeing her in The Group, which is a movie I haven't seen.
I haven't seen that either. I'm going to explore her.
We'll look into that.
Her film list.
Yeah.
Filmography.
Walter herself is in many documentaries where she is very complimentary to Clint Eastwood. However, Sandra Locke, who had a long relationship with Clint Eastwood, like lived with him for like 14 years or something, in her autobiography, she talked about meeting Jessica Walter at a party and said, and quote, "She spoke in measured tones about Clint, and I got the distinct impression that she did not view him as a very generous actor or human being for that matter."
It's like, I wonder what she said specifically for that conclusion. But also I'm inclined to like maybe believe that too, because I think about the whole Arrested Development interview with
the way they tried to
Jeffrey
gaslight
Tambor
her.
and Attell. And I'm like, this is a woman who's just had to deal with this in the industry for a really fucking long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then, Sandra Locke, again, so Clint Eastwood stayed married to his first wife and just had this almost 2-decade-long relationship with Sandra Locke, which, whatever, but he was quite a bit older. He was like 14 years older. Which, again, these details aren't helping. And then when they split up, it was a lot of rancor between the two. So I kind of want to read Sandra Locke's autobiography because
she's got some stories.
I think she's got some dirt. And I'll talk a little bit more about some of the things she said about him when we talk about his life a little more. But I just want to point that out. And again, we brought it up before, but films like Fatal Attraction and Misery, Body of Evidence, whatever you want to call, like these things are all owe a debt to this movie for sure. Also, I just want to mention just a total bit of trivia. Sure. At the end, the body in the water is Jessica Walters. They didn't use a dummy or an ex and a double or anything. She got in the water. She did it
all the way down there. How'd she get down there?
She jumped.
Oh, right.
She was thrown out. She got punched in the face
That was actually all done in real time.
She got punched in the face
one time, and she just fell.
One take Walter.
I don't think, like, that's the thing is, like, they didn't make big enough choices. Like, he was afraid to let his character look bad.
Yes.
Yes. And, like, he didn't even effectively assault that woman.
No,
but you get what I mean.
No,
it feels like the most passive. They just happened to get the balcony. He's still a good guy. He didn't
mean for that to happen.
And even so, I mean, don't you think she kind of deserved it?
I mean, that's the exact tone. It's the exact tone. How hard it is for him.
Yeah.
There's that scene where she's like, don't leave me, and then he's holding her, and he's got that like ridiculous
that's funny when they
stare.
The cameras pans in. It felt like comedy. It was the same
when
they're picnicking, he and his love interest, and then you see they do the camera
She's in the
pan
woods,
and Evelyn's in the fucking woods.
It is
comedy.
Like,
this
is Megan.
It feels like that meme from Pen 15. Yes. With the one girl on the roof looking down.
Yes.
It's like that vibe.
Absolutely. No,
is it Pen 15? Pen 15? Penis?
I mean, I always said Pen 15.
Yeah.
But yes.
The epitome of TV show titles that I'm afraid to say out loud.
Oh, no, it's okay.
The epitome.
Do you have reviews?
Yeah.
You mentioned reviews.
My complaints aside, people seem to like this movie. It's got, let me go to the first.
Fine.
wait, no, okay, I got it. Okay, so it has an 78% Metacritic, 85% Rotten Tomatoes score, 6.9 on IMDb. But when I pull up the first page of reviews on IMDb, it's high user ratings. So it's interesting. That's not that far off, and I do think. People are fans of this one. 85% critical rating on Rotten Tomatoes, 72% audience score. So actually, I think
that's way higher than I would have scored.
Critics are giving it more credit than the users, but the users are still mostly like. Actually, that number is not too far off from how people received the menu.
Let's go
There's
to
like
the chart.
Yeah, meow. But
Sorry.
no,
That was shittier than I meant it.
honestly, I'm looking at this all these. I'm trying to find a lady on this page. It's front page of the. It's a lot. This is a very dude geared film.
Yes, many men talk.
No women critics on the first page of Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I found
it's confirmed
in my research. I watched a few things, and it was definitely like, God, it's just
they're all fresh too. There's no splatters on that first page, and it's all dudes.
That's insane. That is insane.
I'm not saying that they're wrong to like it, and
I am.
I mean, I didn't like it. But I love Jessica Walter in it.
It's like unintentional camp.
Yeah, no, because they're not being these positive ratings. Don't I think some of them are maybe. I think these people just like it. I don't know. I could confirm this and actually read the reviews, but I don't want to.
It's Clint fans because it's Clint Eastwood's first film.
Right.
So it's all these Clint people who we have to look at the first film and take it seriously. And you can see the early leanings of his style.
Dennis Harvey is on Rotten Tomatoes. Misty is a very good thriller showing that Eastwood had absorbed a great deal from the directors he'd worked for. Let's see. We've got. No, they're not. It's fine.
I mean, it's not untrue. He's not. He is a competent director. And dude, when I review, we'll cover the filmography. But I'm like, I forgot how many fucking movies
Jay
he's
Cox
made.
of Time Magazine. Eastwood displays a vigorous talent for sequences of violence and tension. He's obviously seen Psycho and Repulsion more than once, but those are excellent texts, and he has learned his lessons passing well. Like those people are everybody's like, he's a very good student. He's he's really been paying attention to the craft, this is a good student effort of this man, but also
that feels like such a pass.
As the reviews are not as favorable on Letterboxd.
Let's hear him.
Actually, on Letterboxd it has a 3.3 rating.
That's closer.
Which I think that there's more people that
if that's the average, that means that some people really scaled down.
I had referred to this we talked about. I touched on this earlier, and I wanted to make sure I pointed out Marna Larson on Letterboxd, 3-star rating. I always feel these types of movies are more a male fantasy than cautionary tale. A woman so crazed by your penis, you have to put her screaming, possibly naked, into a cab while she screams and pleads and tries to jump out of the cab and back onto your penis. Women just can't get enough.
It's like, my dick will make you crazy.
It's this is a good review. I'm only reading the first. There's like 5. It's like a full essay.
Oh God.
Good for Marna. Loverboy Eastwood incorporates a 10-minute love sequence, including waterfall smooching and romantic tete-a-tete. For an A-list actor to create a debut around a stalking woman speaks somewhat for itself, doesn't it?
Yes.
I think a lot of the reviews are sitting at about like a 3 to 3.5 star rating. So actually, they are still pretty high, but they're fine. People are like people like it.
I mean,
I just don't agree with. I don't want to do my job because I don't agree.
No, you like.
No, it was a lot of just. I don't know. I was looking for more like meme-y like stuff. I wanted things that were like.
I think you need to fill the internet with that.
Perhaps I judged you too harshly, Letterboxd.
Yeah.
I like to read the funny, concise review. They're just a lot of them weren't concise. They're very like, Clint Eastwood's first effort, although a bit amateur at times, is a great directorial paragraphs. Damn it, now I just want the joke tweets.
Yeah.
What's wrong with me? I'm
Nothing.
too conditioned
No.
I'm too conditioned.
Sometimes I think terseness is a gift to an audience.
I think giving a good little...
One really succinct but original observation.
Like a few sentences is cool, but I don't like having to open up the review.
Yeah, if I have to open it up, you failed.
You failed.
I'm sorry.
You failed.
Because like, I'm listen. No,
looking at you, periodicals.
I'm speaking out of turn.
No,
listen,
I know what you're talking about.
You want to practice writing criticism. You want to practice writing essays. It's a place to do that, and I don't have to read them. It's just the inner critic of writing in me that is scrolling through these and being like, I would have cut that first sentence. And I'm like, and I don't really do that because I don't have time. I just don't read it. So it's like, if you want me to read...
I think we're all just instinctually, like most of us don't click.
When this movie came out, it was around the same time as The French Connection, The Last Picture Show, Fiddler on the Roof, which was like a smash hit. Two on a Bench, excuse me, not sure what that was. Duel, And that summer was the summer of Willy Wonka, Shaft, and Dirty Harry.
Oh man,
So there's that.
Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
What a banger.
Just for texture, just so you know. Yeah. In our director's chair this week is Clint Eastwood Jr. He's a junior. And that really is his name. That's not a stage name.
Good for him.
The most cowboy real name.
That's why we all like to say it so much. It's a good name.
It's a great name.
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood. Like, what a cowboy name.
So good. Well, we know he's an American film actor and director. He was born at St. Francis Memorial Hospital in San Francisco, California. His father, Clinton Eastwood, was a manufacturing executive at Georgia Pacific. And his mother was initially a stay-at-home mother, but then got a position as an IBM clerk. So, both parents were working. So often when I'm trying to cover these directors, I don't get this level of detail. And, it's because, he's been around a long time. He's got biographers. He's got fans. His Wikipedia page is really, really thorough. But it's sort of frustrating because there's so many people that we couldn't find this level of detail about, And it's not to say that it's not out there. It's just not commonly available.
He is just so lauded.
He is so lauded.
But also such a specific taste.
Yes.
I don't want to yuck others yum, but also it's such
there's a few films that are really excellent. There's a run of a couple that I'm like, those I all can get into, but then you'll see a trend. I mean, I'm going to read off he's made so many fucking movies, but I wanted to preface that whole level of detail caveat because I mean, I found out that the nurses in the hospital when he was born nicknamed him Samson. And that's because he weighed 11 pounds 6 ounces.
He's a big
when
boy.
He was born. He was a big fucking baby. That's 5.2 kilograms for our friends who use the metric system, which is most of the world. He is of English, Irish, Scottish, and Dutch descent, so just white.
Good for him.
And I don't mean this to sound so bitter. It's just that he's literally a descendant of one of the passengers of the Mayflower.
Oh wow.
So it makes him,
he's that old white.
He's old white, and so it means he is like 12th generation born in North America.
Yeah.
Okay, you feel probably like, this land is your land, and
this comes with, there's something about that patriotic lineage.
Yeah. And then so when he was young, his parents moved to Piedmont, California, moved the family there, and they were living in an affluent part of town. They had 2 cars. Both mom and father had one, which was very unusual. They had a pool. They belonged to a country club. I mean,
both parents worked, but he was kind of in the upper middle class, it sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, possibly even just upper class. I don't think, I
wouldn't want to necessarily say just 2 cars and a pool qualify it. But if you,
they're living in
a certain amount of amenities,
they're living a very beautiful, sort of perfect life. Yeah. And this is sort of post-war paradise. And I don't mean to sound so bitter about it, but Clint was not a good student. And he was expelled for, and I couldn't find out what specifically. It was probably just up yours. But he wrote an obscene suggestion to a school official on a scoreboard.
Obscene suggestion?
An obscene suggestion. This is all
what did he write?
I don't know. I tried to find out. I'm like, well, just say what he wrote. Don't. And again, it might
would that ruin his career? We'd find out that he was a pervert and
I don't
a bigot.
know. Maybe it was it said shove it. I don't know. Maybe it was something bigoted. Who knows? We don't know. He also burned an effigy on the school lawn, and he was always in trouble. So it was all those things.
I just think the fact that we have so many details sometimes.
I know.
But then certain details we don't have.
Yes. You're right.
That's why I'm like, what did he write?
It's a little fishy. And there
I just got my bias.
No. You know what though? Your radar is good because there's no record of him ever completing high school. And apparently at some point, somebody tried to check on that and find out. They called the high school, and the people at the high school had been advised kind of not to speak to anybody about that. And they didn't. So
yeah, there's some
secrets.
Sort of conversation going on there.
I'm just saying, after this period, he starts getting a lot of odd jobs. He's a paper carrier, grocery store clerk, golf caddy. When there are forest fires, he's a forest firefighter, which is these are all jobs that, they don't ask to see any kind of credentials.
He was working, you know.
Yeah, he was
cool,
working.
Cool.
And then he got a job as a lifeguard. And at this point, it's like 1951, and he's going to attempt to enroll at Seattle University. I'm like, I don't know how you do that if you didn't finish high school. But whatever, maybe you can. But he got drafted into the Army. And although this was during the Korean War, he spent his entire military career at Fort Ord, which is in Northern California, as a lifeguard.
Wow. What a story.
Yeah.
This guy.
It's also thought that he might have been dating the daughter of a Fort Ord officer who kind of helped get him.
I can see why other guys would look up to this guy, because he rigged the system good.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
And so what's funny is Sandra Locke, who I mentioned earlier, right? You know, his ex. She said, well, he would always say that he got drafted, but he wouldn't say anything about the Korean War because he wanted people to just assume that like he did combat. He didn't want any more questions, you know what I mean? Like, he'd just leave it there. And she would just, I think he wanted them, he hoped they would assume the best, you know, of him. And
then, of course, you have those, where were you stationed? And then
I was making sure that sergeants didn't drown during lunch hour.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's at Fort Ord. It's unclear if somebody at CBS was there or somebody at Fort Ord had Hollywood connections. But anyway, somebody spots Clint Eastwood because he's so fucking tall. Mm-hmm. And they get him in touch with people. He gets a fucking audition just because he's a tall drink of water. Anyway. And he gets this audition with a director and producer, Arthur Lubin, who created the show Mr. Ed. FYI. And he also
phenomenon.
Yeah, also directed a number of Abbott and Costello movies. But this is what Arthur Lubin described Clint Eastwood. He said he was quite amateurish. He didn't know which way to turn or which way to go or do anything.
Oh my God.
Still got signed for a contract at $100 a week, which was still decent money at that time. He was giving acting classes to kind of fix him up. And everyone was still complaining, like, you're stiff and you deliver all your lines through your teeth.
Wow.
Which becomes his signature, right?
This reminds me of the John Hamm character in 30 Rock. He's so handsome he doesn't know how to do anything.
Exactly. I'm like, you're just tall.
Yeah.
You're just tall. I mean, he was a good looking dude when he was young, but I mean, okay, anyway. The big break comes in after this he does a lot of bit parts and a lot of bullshit. I'm not gonna list it because it's not interesting. I'm sorry.
Sure.
The big breakthrough is the 1958 Rawhide, the TV show. It's a Western. He gets on that, and that gets him attention. And then, of course, followed by the spaghetti westerns with Sergio Leone, and then the Dirty Harry stuff. He pretty much cements this whole "I am the definition of masculinity in America" kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Okay, Play Misty for Me is the first film he directed, and he's been in a lot of things. I don't even. This is not even a complete filmography.
No, nor should we have to. We're already giving him a lot of time.
No, I know, and I'm like, I kind of hate it, but I forgot how many fucking movies he's directed, so I'm just gonna rattle.
That's
them off.
okay.
Okay, Play Misty for Me, Breezy, High Plains Drifter, The Eiger Sanction, The Outlaw Josie Wales, Heartbreak Ridge, Bird, Unforgiven, Bridges of Madison County, True Crime, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, Absolute Power, Space Cowboys, Bloodwork, Mystic River, $1 Million Baby, Flags of Our Fathers, Letters from Iwo Jima, Changeling, Gran Torino, Invictus, Hereafter, J. Edgar, Jersey Boys, American Sniper, Sully, The Mule, Richard Jewell, and Cry Macho.
Wow, they
That's
kept,
not even
they kept letting him show up behind the camera. What about Elaine May? I just think about that. I'm like,
that's what I'm saying.
They kept.
It's what I'm saying. It's like some people are allowed to just be mediocre, and I'm not saying he's not a good director. People have praised his directing abilities because he comes in under budget and ahead of schedule, and everyone's like, he runs such a civilized set. I think it's just that I think he finally learned a job by finally having a job.
He was given the opportunity to grow.
Yes,
basically.
He was exactly.
But how
many people are not given this many chances?
Right.
I mean,
but it all comes down to your circumstances and how you get your opportunities.
Unbelievable.
And how you can leverage as you go along. You know, that's it's
my hat's off to him.
It's tough.
My hat's off to him.
They're different people who had different. He had that set of circumstances going for him, and she had hers. And
I know
it's an unfair comparison, but you think about how all the rough edges of this movie too. Not that this is a bad, but also too people seem to really like it.
I mean, it's just I hear you. Maybe not the right comparison, but
can't help but think.
But I mean, they were kind of contemporaries in age, and I mean, she was excellent. An excellent comedian.
It was just different tastes of things too, what they were making, who they were as people,
Yeah.
who had their backs, what connections, what they didn't. I know that all plays a role, but it's just I can't help but think about it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
all this is to say that Clint Eastwood himself said, this film, he's like, it was like 17 years of hanging around sets, and then, he said I stored away all the mistakes I made and saved up all the good things I learned. And now I know enough to control my own projects and get what I want out of actors. So, it doesn't surprise me. He's a competent director, blah, 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 blah. But I'm not I like the films with Sergio Leone, and I think he's great in those. But that is so much more about Sergio Leone and Italian point of view than it is about Clint Eastwood. Is what I've come to realize.
I'll tell you why I don't like him. Because my first boyfriend, when I would have to go to his place and we would hook up, he'd always put on these movies, and the Gran Torino he put on one time. It sucked.
Like to be in the background of that. Oh my God.
Yeah, no, it was I don't know how I'm here today. I've had so much life.
You're a survivor.
I'm really a survivor. No.
Do you have a best supporting player?
No. No, the housekeeper was great.
I mean, Birdie.
Yeah, Birdie was great.
Just because she took the hits.
I just
she was the only bit of life, really.
She like
everyone else. Well,
I wanted to turn that fucking movie off when she got attacked, and then the stretcher scene, and then she makes that joke, I'm gonna charge you double or pay me double for all this, and then I was like. Not that joke was even good, but I was like, well, at least they signaled that she was okay, because that's like fucked up.
I was glad that they let us know that she didn't die, but
I don't like that.
But I don't like that woman is traumatized. But
it was also it was like a gratuitous
incredibly
stab. The looked bad too.
Yeah,
they were shooting it in a very way like like in Psycho, it's fine.
Yeah,
that we see just the weird movement, like it kind of serves in that tone and whatever, but in this it was like I don't like that. Come on, Jessica, what are you doing? Girl.
I mean that was I think, but what you were saying about her being on the stretcher, she's just been through something horribly traumatic and violent,
and then they wrote
and they give her this sassy black woman line to say. That is not
like maybe it's just like okay, like I do appreciate that
I'm being overly critical here,
but that's the thing is like you're not wrong in that like I want to acknowledge like the writing isn't very like they're having to do a lot of heavy lifting between her and his co-host to just make this bearable to watch, because otherwise there's just no charisma from him that I don't get the allure.
No.
The only thing is Jessica and then even still her performance versus how much it has to escalate by the end is so dissonant and it feels like a comedy, honestly.
It does.
And then all of a sudden she stabs, what's the character's name again? Sorry.
Toby.
The
housekeeper.
Birdie. Sorry, I mean that attack. It was like, oh god, it's fucking whiplash. Like,
it was rough.
I don't. On top of the love scene. The love scene
on.
was after that, wasn't it?
Well, there's a picnic scene and then there's a lovemaking scene. The lovemaking scene comes after Birdie being stabbed to death.
Yeah. Then the picnic and then this lovemaking. It just was like I'm laughing at you, Clint. I don't like this.
Set to Roberta Flack's The First Time I Ever Saw Your Face.
Yeah. Oh no.
Well, Clarice Taylor, who played Birdie, you did your best.
I just think
we appreciate you.
That's my supporting and also I think
would you watch this again?
No, but I do think that the 2.5 stars is not mean. It's actually kind of fair because there's just
accurate.
It's such an off-putting movie for so many reasons. I'm just a dumb woman. No, but I don't know. I just think
you're right.
That whiplash, especially at that 3/4 point.
It's unintentional comedy, but you're right.
It's not even that long of a movie. It feels too long.
It feels long, but it's not long. And I mean, it's a little over 90 minutes, but
it drags.
It does drag. And maybe, honestly,
unless we're watching Jessica, but it's so I don't the tension of it is undercut by the silliness of the situations, of how big of the crazy swings that she has, and how he still is like, okay, and then still has sex with her. Like, it's just very like, but it's not self-aware. But it's beautiful ocean shots.
Yes.
I do. Since us talking, I give it more credit for that. Definitely
Fair.
won't raise my star rating.
No, that's locked in. Well, I'm glad we did this one.
Yeah. No, I'm glad too.
And I'm good on Clint Eastwood. I feel like I've resolved.
We like what we like.
We like what we like.
Well, we try to change it up. I'm glad this is part of the definition of fresh movies, a new thing.
Yeah.
You know?
No, he tried. We tried.
He tried.
We all tried. Jessica Walter tried very hard.
She's great.
She was nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Drama.
Good for her.
So
Good for her.
I think she was the only one who got anything.
It's just so weird. Even the font in the opening credits, it feels
So
like you're like, is this gonna be a comedy?
It feels like we're in like, I don't know, like Land of the Giants or something.
It's very kooky.
It feels like a mid 60s or late 60s. I mean, it kind of is in the way that the early 70s feel like.
I thought it was going to be a
60s,
surf comedy.
It really had that
with
vibe.
that font and the music.
That font.
It was upbeat music too.
Yeah,
It was
yeah. Because he's like, again, Clint wanted us to know that he likes jazz.
Yeah.
He's a cool guy. Thank you so much for listening. You can email us at abreathofreshmovie@gmail.com. You can also follow us on the social medias at Fresh Movie Pod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you guys.
Bye.